standing, we'll do cranial. So this is going to extend beyond the area of, I guess we're just saying that she's got an injury somewhere here, or actually not here, because you would never put tape over it. You'd put it over here, over here. So if there was an injury right here, even though they really want you to put this cranial, you wouldn't. You would put it on this side and this side. Basically all these are just going to support the bandage, okay? So we use these little tongue depressors so that when you put them on both sides, they don't stick together, because then that ends up being a mess. So see them, they are not sticking together, because you're going to end up separating these at some point. So that's just a little trick.
Opposite sides?
Opposite sides, yep. So if there is an injury right here, you'd put it on opposite sides over here. So you just do that, but you always want to make sure that this extends beyond the edge of your bandage. We, honestly, if I'm placing a splint or something, I extend it up here too, and you'll see why. So, okay, this, and then what's the next step?
The student applies gauze pad on wound.
Okay, this is gauze pad is, oh, I have gauze pad. So we're gonna say you have your wound over here. Okay, and then the next step.
The student applies primary layer using cotton roll by applying distally to the end of the area, then proximally to cover the entire surface. Apply cotton at slight 45-degree angle. Wrap is not too tight, cutting off circulation.
Okay, so distal is away from you, proximal is close to you. So you're going to start at the end. Like, I always think proximal, proximity, close to you. So close to your body. This is cotton wool. This is cast padding. It can look like this. It can also look like this. Okay, there's a lot of different kinds. Either one of them are fine. And they all come in different sizes. So this one's smaller, you know, but you choose whatever you want for the size patient that you have. So they want you, I'm not really sure what they are talking about 45-degree angle. I think it's probably the way you're holding your padding. And you always want it to be, you don't want to do it this way. See how cumbersome that is? And you guys will see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
You actually want to do it so that the roll is more towards you and you're rolling away from you. Okay? So, and you're always kind of pulling, but not too hard. And you're always overlapping your layers. See how you're overlapping? So essentially there's like 2 layers of this cast padding every time. It's overlapping about the same. Depends on how thick your cast padding or this padding is, how close they are. All right. So there you go, and just rips super easy. So if you were placing a splint or you wanted a super, super, super padded, like there was a fracture or something, you would do a whole bunch of this. You would make it pretty thick. Okay, and then so what's the next step?
The student applies the cotton roll smoothly and evenly, preventing wrinkling.
Okay, it's pretty smooth. And the way that you can do it smoothly is by keeping it kind of taut as you're doing it. It's just practice, but you just keep it kind of taut. Okay, next step.
The student applies each layer of cotton so that it overlaps the previous one.
Okay, we did that.
And then the student applies gauze roll as secondary layer distally to the end of the area, then proximally to cover the entire surface. Gauze is not too tight, cutting off circulation.
Okay, so this is gauze. This is roll gauze, and there's different sizes. This is more of a horse size. I'm going to use this size. And it has a little bit, some of them have a little bit of stretch in them. I like the ones that have a little bit of stretch. You just have to be careful not to pull it completely tight. So you're going to, again, do the same thing. Overlapping as you go, the same. There's also brown gauze. A lot of horse people use brown gauze. same thing, it just is, I like this because it's a little bit stretchy. To me, it's easier to place. Is this feeling too tight?
No, just snug.
Okay.
Looks like you're getting a cast.
I can actually bring real scissors, so let's see if these are, okay. Alright, there we go. Okay.
The student applies desired amount, oh wait, we did that. The student applies the vet wrap layer by applying distally to the end of the area and then proximally to cover the entire area.
You want blue or pink? Blue. Okay, so one thing I want to make clear is at the very end, it's going to tell you to make sure that your edges, every time you place something, that the edge is going beyond the one that was below it. In the real world, and I'm not sure if that is incorrect, if it's incorrectly in there, the real world is you actually apply your layers in a way that it's just, it doesn't overlap, it's just underlaps it. And the reason why is because this stuff, super stretchy, easy to rip, it's not confining at all. This stuff, super confining. Like you could cut off your circulation with this, you could cut your circulation off with this, but you're not going to do it with this. This is just going to rip. So you never want the stuff that could cut your circulation off directly on the skin. You actually always want it over some padding. So that's something I would talk to them about, you know, as you're doing it, saying this is what the practicum says, but this is why. So it's the same thing. Distally to proximally. And this is, you can really crank on this stuff. You don't really want to. You want to crank on it just a tiny bit, but you don't want this to be super tight. It just needs to be snug. If it's too tight, you can cut off the circulation. Especially, you can crank on it a bit more if you have a lot of padding. Like if we have a splint that we're placing, we can crank on it a lot because there's a lot of padding there. All right. Okay, so what they would want you to do is to completely come uncover here, but then this again would be on the skin. Okay, and when does it tell you, does it say anything, what's the next step actually after that?
The student applies 1 inch or 2 inches of adhesive tape to the proximal end and distal end of the bandage edges. Half of the tape layer is attached to the bandage and half of the tape's attached to the hair.
Okay, this is, we call it elasticon. This is super sticky. And so this is really what keeps the bandage on, this as well as the little, we call them stirrups underneath. So half goes here and half on the skin. I'm not going to do it very tight. And this doesn't have to be tight. You just basically lay this on the skin and really push down, and it's super sticky. And then and then what we usually do is, I know there's no toes or anything sticking out, we usually will put one down here, and the reason why we do it is because this hits the ground, and this is a lot tougher than this. We don't want it to rip up. But if you were doing, let's say the wound was here, then you could just take the elasticon and put it right there and have the rest of the skin showing. We don't generally, if we have a wound here, we're going to go all the way down to the toes though, because in the real world, if you just put a bandage from here to here and they're running around, they're going to end up getting swelling down here. So if we put the wrap all the way down to the toes, they don't get swelling because you're keeping it nice and tight. And then, I don't know when they tell you to do this, but you go like that, pull it apart, flip it around like that.
Yeah, that's the next step.
That's the next step? Okay. And then if you have it extending up here, we'd do the exact same thing. So, and the toes, we have to make sure the toes are not.
Yeah, check them for swelling and temperature.
Okay,
Awesome.
I do not have bandage scissors.
It's all good. I can just go
Oh,
like this.
actually, I'm sorry, one more thing. I think it also says to do something, to put a little strip where the end is of your vet wrap. I think it says to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 16.
So I think the reason why they're saying to do that, I mean, this isn't going to really come off very easily. I think the reason why they're saying to do that is so that they know, so someone knows exactly where it ends, because sometimes it's hard to tell. And a nice thing to do is to tab it whenever you are putting any sort of bandaging. It's nice to tab it, because then it's easy for someone just to go, oh, it's right here. So there you go. Okay, perfect.